In this video, I'm going to be talking about where UK house prices could be heading in 2024. Now, before I start, as ever, if you find this useful, do make sure you hit that like button, but also subscribe to the channel because I do update these videos every month. Also, in the notes of this video, you'll find a link to an article on the Money to the Masses website where I regularly update where the market might think house prices could be heading in the future. So the way we do this is to look at recent house price data on where the market has been moving and try and see if there's anything we can draw in terms of conclusion for where house prices will go in the future. So I'm going to jump straight across to the article on the Money to the Masses website where we look at the trend in UK house prices. It's this article here. It's called "What is going to happen to house prices in the UK?" Now, the first thing to note, there are various factors that do influence house prices: the health of the economy, the interest rates out there, so the mortgage rates that you can get. At the moment, the Bank of England base rate is at a high of 5.25%, and so that has put a tightening on the property market. So we have seen some drop-off in the activity in the property market, and this tends to happen historically when rates are high. So bear in mind what's happening with the Bank of England base rate because that influences mortgage rates. And of course, supply and demand will always impact the price of your house, and that is at a local level in particular. Now, the way we look at what's going to happen potentially with house prices to look at the various indices out there that exist. Now, the one thing to point out, there is no crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen to house prices, but it is interesting to look at the data. So the first one I'm going to look at is the UK House Price Index. Now, this is the most accurate of the various indices I'm going to be talking about because it's based on completed sales. That's both cash sales and those with a mortgage. And the data comes from HM Land Registry and other government sources. Now, the latest data we've got is for October 2023. So that's the newest data. Now you can see there that if you look, the monthly change is down 0.7%. So the data here has started to turn negative. If you go back to July last year and the annual change, so it's looking from year to year, then the uptick was 0.6% from 1 July to the previous, but now we're seeing an annual change of minus 1.2%. House prices are, based on the October data, 1.2% lower than they were the previous October. If we move on to the nationwide house price index, now this index is based on nationwide mortgage approvals. So the data here suggests, again, there's been a trend of falling house prices over a period of time if you look at the annual rate. But the positive is that from October onwards, we're starting to see, well, actually September onwards, we're starting to see the annual price change fall. And that's because the month-on-month numbers you can see there was 0.9% increase in October 2023. That started to weaken into the new year, so December price changes were flat, but it means the annual change is only down 1.8%. So if you compare that, that is a much more positive news story, really. The biggest fall we had there, annual change was down 5.3%. We're seeing numbers quoted in press articles. We're going to see a 25% fall in house prices. So you can see the housing market has held up more significantly than people had predicted. Now, moving on to Halifax. This is where the picture gets a bit muddied because Halifax House Price Index is based on its own database of around 300,000 mortgage approvals. And you can see there that actually there's been a sudden change. The annual change is of 1.7% uptick in December 2023. Now that's compared to the annual change of minus 1% in November. You can see there was an improving picture over the course of the back half of 2023. But this is completely different to what we saw in the previous index, so nationwide index. That was showing still negative growth, so falls in house prices year on year. This is now saying from the Halifax that we're actually seeing an uptick. But if you read the detail, you can see it on screen. But if you want to go to the article, I'll put a link in the notes. You can read it in more detail. They're suggesting that most of that is down to a lack of supply, so a lack of houses on the market, which is causing house prices to actually be more resilient because of the demand that's there for that limited house supply. Now, moving on to Rightmove. So Rightmove's index is slightly different to the others because this is based on the listing prices of properties on Rightmove's portal. So if you look on there, The most recent data, December 2023, seeing a monthly change of 1.9%, so a fall of 1.9%. That's higher than we saw in November. It does mean that annual change is down around about 1.1%. So it's still suggesting that the overall feeling from sellers is still quite negative. But if you look at it overall, mixed picture. So it's who do you believe? I think that is a good summary of where we are with the market. Lots of people have been predicting an almost Armageddon scenario, which hasn't come to fruition, but also it's a very mixed bag as we go into 2024. But the overall theme is that the market has been far more resilient than people were predicting, certainly at the beginning of 2023. The predictions made then were much more dire. The market has held up, and obviously we're going into 2024 now with hopefully the mortgage market thawing somewhat. We're seeing rates come down on mortgage deals. So you can read more about what's been driving house prices as well, and also get tips on how you can find out what your property is worth. So if you found that video useful, please make sure you hit that like button, but also subscribe to the channel to make sure you get these monthly updates as soon as they are published.